The elevator dropped through solid rock for 15 minutes before reaching the bottom. Admiral Tejo stepped out into a cavern so vast that its far walls disappeared into darkness. But this was not a natural cave. The walls were lined with metal, and massive lights hung from the ceiling like artificial stars. Before him stretched the largest shipyard humanity had ever built. 12 levels of construction bays carved deep into the Korean mountains, each one holding vessels that would make alien admirals weep with envy. The sound of hammering metal and welding torches echoed through the enormous space as thousands of workers put finishing touches on the fleet. "Impressive, isn't it?" said Engineer Dong-wook as he joined the admiral. He was a short man with thick glasses who had spent the last 20 years designing these ships. "When we started this project, people said it was impossible. Build a space, fleet in secret, hide 12,000 ships from alien sensors. They called me crazy." Admiral Tejo watched as a massive battleship was slowly moved out of its construction bay. The ship was 3 times longer than any aircraft carrier, its hull black as space and covered with weapons that no alien had ever seen before. "Crazy like a fox, Dong-wook. Show me the latest improvements." They walked through the shipyard as Dong-wook explained the technology. Each ship was a masterpiece of human engineering combined with alien science. When the first alien probe had crashed in Siberia 30 years ago, human scientists had learned secrets that changed everything. "The basic hull design comes from that Vorthon scout ship we recovered," Dong-wook explained, pointing to the sleek curves of a nearby destroyer. "But we made it better. Stronger armor, faster engines, and weapons they've never seen before." Captain Heejin met them at the flagship Seoul's Fury. She was a woman in her 40s who had trained for space combat since she was 20. Her crew had spent years learning to fight in zero gravity, practicing maneuvers that would confuse alien pilots, who had grown comfortable with easy victories. "How do the crews feel about finally getting their chance?" Admiral Tejo asked her. "Ready, sir. We've been training for this our whole careers. Every pilot knows their job, every gunner knows their target, every engineer knows how to keep us flying when the aliens try to stop us." The 3 of them entered the flagship's bridge, where dozens of officers worked at stations that looked like nothing any human civilian had ever seen. The walls were covered with screens showing star maps, sensor readings, and tactical displays. But the most impressive sight was the main viewer, which showed the alien fleet approaching Earth. "They're still using the same formation they used against the Kalani Empire 50 years ago," Captain Hyojin observed. "Big ships in front, support vessels behind, fighters scattered around the edges." General Sungmin's voice came through the communication system from his command center on the moon. "It worked against every species they've conquered so far. The Kalani tried to fight them ship to ship. The Nexari tried to use superior speed. The Thymans tried to overwhelm them with numbers. All failed because they fought the way the aliens expected." Admiral Tejo nodded. "But we won't fight the way they expect, will we?" "No, sir," Captain Hyojin replied with a smile. "We'll fight the human way." The human way was different from anything the galaxy had seen before. Other species built bigger ships or faster ships or ships with more powerful weapons. Humans built smarter ships. Every vessel in the fleet was controlled by artificial intelligence that could think faster than any biological brain. Every weapon could adjust its targeting in real time. Every defense could adapt to new attacks instantly. But the real secret was something no alien had ever considered. While they built their ships to fight other ships, humans had built their ships to fight alien ships specifically. Every weakness discovered through decades of observation had been turned into a weapon. "Show him the plasma disruptors, Engineer," Dong-wook said proudly. Captain Hyojin activated a display showing the flagship's main weapons. Vorthon shields are designed to stop energy beams and projectile weapons, but they can't handle plasma that changes frequency every millisecond. Our computers can shift the energy pattern faster than their shields can adapt. "What about the Nexari ships?" Admiral Tejo asked. "Speed is their advantage," General Sungmin's voice explained through the speakers. "They rely on being faster than their enemies. But speed doesn't help if you can't see what you're running from. Our new cloaking technology makes us invisible to their sensors until we're close enough to touch." The cloaking technology was perhaps humanity's greatest achievement. While aliens had developed ways to hide from each other, They had never encountered anything like human stealth systems. Based on quantum field manipulation and gravity wave dampening, the technology made human ships completely undetectable by any known alien sensor. And the Thymans? The Admiral continued. Their rock ships are tough, Captain Hai-Jin admitted. But toughness doesn't matter if you can attack from inside. Our new penetrator missiles phase through solid matter. By the time their armor detects the attack, the warhead is already inside their ship. They spent the next hour reviewing battle plans and ship assignments. Every detail had been planned and practiced. Every possible alien response had been anticipated. The humans would not simply react to alien attacks. They would control the entire battle from the first moment. "Sir," called Lieutenant Jae Sung from his position at the communications station. He was young for his rank, but had proven himself the best pilot in the fleet during training exercises. "We're receiving reports from all sectors. The fleet is ready to move on your order." Admiral Taeho looked at the main screen, which now showed the positions of 12,000 human ships hidden throughout the solar system. They were invisible to alien sensors, waiting in carefully chosen positions that would give them every advantage when the fighting started. "How long until the aliens reach their attack position?" he asked. 26 days, sir," Captain Hai-Jin replied. "They're being very careful, scanning for any sign of human resistance. Of course, they're not finding any. Because we're not where they're looking," General Sung-min added. "They expect us to defend Earth directly. Instead, we'll surround them when they think they're surrounding us." Admiral Taeho smiled as he watched the alien fleet crawl across the display. 800 ships that had conquered a dozen star systems, approaching a planet they thought was defenseless. Soon they would learn the difference between silence and weakness. "Signal all ships," he ordered. "Begin final preparations. In 26 days, the galaxy learns what humans can do when we stop being quiet." Throughout the solar system, the message was received by 12,000 ships and their crews, men and women who had trained their entire lives for this moment. Pilots who could fly through asteroid fields in perfect formation. Gunners who could hit targets smaller than coins from 1,000 miles away. Engineers who could keep ships running. Even when half the systems were destroyed, they were ready. Earth was ready. And soon the aliens would discover that humanity's silence had been the calm before the storm. 7 days remained until the alien ultimatum expired. On Earth's surface, panic gripped every nation. Television news showed endless debates between politicians who had no idea how to fight beings from space. Military leaders held emergency meetings, discussing plans that everyone knew would fail. The general public watched the skies, waiting for alien ships to appear and end their world. But in a small research station hidden beneath the mountains of Tibet, Dr. So Young was having a very different kind of day. Her fingers danced across holographic keyboards as she monitored 17 different alien communication channels at once. After 30 years of studying their languages and technology, she could understand their conversations better than they understood each other. "Colonel Miran, you need to see this," she called to the intelligence officer who stood nearby. Miran was a tall woman with sharp eyes who had spent her career tracking alien movements through space. She hurried over to Dr. So Young's workstation. "What did you find?" "The aliens aren't planning to just disarm us," Dr. So Young said, her voice tight with anger. "Listen to this." She played a recording of Vorthon officers discussing their plans. The translation scrolled across the screen in Korean. Phase 1. Demand surrender of nuclear weapons. Phase 2. Establish orbital control stations. Phase 3. Begin systematic relocation of human populations to designated zones. Colonel Miran's face went pale. "Relocation zones? You mean concentration camps?" "It gets worse." Dr. So Young switched to another recording. "They plan to use humans as forced labor in their mining operations. Apparently, we're considered naturally suited for dangerous work environments. Admiral Taeho needs to know about this immediately." While Dr. So Young transmitted her discovery to command centers around the world, Lieutenant Jae Sung was leading his fighter squadron through final training exercises in the space between Earth and Mars. His ship was so small compared to the alien battleships that their sensors couldn't detect it even without cloaking technology active. Gold Squadron, maintain formation. He spoke into his helmet communicator. Remember, when the real fighting starts, we don't engage their big ships directly. We go after their fighter screens and support vessels. His pilots were the best humanity had ever trained. Each one could fly their fighter through a maze of asteroids while blindfolded. They had studied alien fighter tactics for years, learning every weakness and mistake their enemies made in previous battles. "Lieutenant," called pilot Minho over the radio, "are you sure our weapons will work against their armor?" Jae-sung smiled, inside his helmet. "Trust me, Minho. Our plasma cannons were designed specifically to cut through Vorthon hull plating. One good hit will punch right through their strongest ship." Meanwhile, deep in the Pacific Ocean, scientist Wu Jin was making final adjustments to humanity's most secret weapon. The underwater facility where he worked was completely invisible from space, hidden beneath 3 miles of ocean water, and protected by technology that made it seem like empty seafloor to any scanner. "Cloaking field generators at 100% efficiency," reported his assistant engineer Yu Jin. "All 12,000 ships are completely invisible to alien sensors." Wu Jin nodded as he checked the readings on his instruments. The cloaking technology had taken 15 years to perfect, but it was worth every day of work. Based on principles discovered in captured alien technology, the human version was far superior to anything the aliens had ever seen. "What's the power consumption?" he asked. "Surprisingly low," Yujin replied. "The quantum field generators are more efficient than we hoped. Each ship can maintain cloak for up to 6 months without refueling." "Good, because once this battle starts, we want to stay invisible until the very last moment." Above them, completely undetected by alien surveillance, the human fleet moved into final positions. Captain Kyung-soo commanded the battleship Incheon Thunder, one of the largest ships in the fleet. His vessel was positioned near Jupiter, where its massive bulk was hidden behind the planet's swirling storms. "All stations report ready, Captain," said his first officer, Commander Yoon-hee. "Weapons charged, shields at maximum, engines prepared for combat acceleration." Captain Kyung-soo looked at the tactical display showing alien ship movements. The enemy fleet was spread across millions of miles of space, advancing slowly toward Earth. They moved with the confidence of predators who had never met their match. "They have no idea we're here," he said quietly. 800 ships thinking they're about to conquer a helpless world. "Sir," called the communications officer, "we're receiving a priority message from Admiral Taeho." The Admiral's face appeared on the main screen, transmitted through quantum channels the aliens couldn't intercept. "All ships, this is Admiral Taeho. Intelligence has confirmed that the aliens plan to enslave our entire species. This is no longer about defending our independence. This is about defending our very existence as free human beings." The message continued to every ship in the fleet. 12,000 captains and their crews learned that defeat would mean not just conquest, but slavery for every man, woman, and child on Earth. Major Yoonji received the message aboard her fighter, Carrier, hidden in the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter. As wing commander, she was responsible for 300 of humanity's best pilots. The carrier itself was disguised as a large asteroid, complete with fake mineral deposits on its surface that would fool any alien mining survey. "You heard the Admiral," she told her pilots over the ship's internal communication system. "This isn't just a battle anymore. This is everything. Every person you've ever loved, every place you've ever called home, every dream you've ever had. For the future, it all depends on what we do in the next few days." Her pilots were young but determined. They had trained their entire adult lives for this moment. Some had never seen combat, but all of them understood what was at stake. Back on Earth, Dr. So-young continued monitoring alien communications. What she heard next made her blood run cold. "Colonel Miran," she called urgently. "The aliens just received new orders from their high command. They're not going to wait for the ultimatum to expire." "What do you mean?" "They plan to attack in 3 days. They want to catch us off guard before we can organize any kind of resistance." Colonel Miran immediately contacted Admiral Taeho. "Sir, the aliens are moving up their timeline. Attack begins in 72 hours. The Admiral's response was calm but firm. "Then we move up our timeline too. Signal all ships. Operation Silent Thunder begins in 60 hours. We'll be ready for them. Across the solar system, 12,000 ships received the new orders. Crews that had been preparing for years made their final checks. Weapons that had never been fired in anger were armed and targeted. Pilots climbed into fighters they had flown 10,000 times in training but never in battle. The aliens thought they were about to surprise a helpless planet. Instead, they were flying into the largest trap in galactic history. Lieutenant Jae-sung looked out through his fighter's canopy at the star field ahead. Somewhere in that darkness, alien ships were approaching with confident plans to conquer his world. They had studied human history and seen endless wars between nations, believing that made humans weak and divided. They were about to learn the difference between fighting each other and fighting together against a common enemy. All pilots, this is Gold Leader, he spoke into his radio. Remember what we learned in training. The aliens have conquered 12 star systems because no one ever surprised them. Today, we show them what surprise looks like. The storm was gathering, and humanity was ready to unleash thunder. The moment had arrived. Admiral Taeho stood on the bridge of his command station, hidden deep within an asteroid near Earth's orbit. Around him, dozens of officers watched their screens with quiet intensity. After 30 years of preparation, everything came down to the next few minutes. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park Dal-ho, "alien fleet has reached attack formation. They're beginning their final approach to Earth." On the main viewer, 800 alien ships moved through space in perfect formation. Massive Vorthon battleships led the way, their hulls gleaming with energy shields. Behind them came the swift Nexari cruisers, darting between the larger vessels like silver fish. The rocky Timon dreadnoughts brought up the rear, their asteroid-like hulls bristling with weapons. "They look confident," observed General Sung Min through the quantum communication link from his lunar command post. "Why shouldn't they be?" replied Admiral Taeho. "As far as they know, Earth has nothing but primitive missiles and chemical rockets. They're expecting an easy victory." The alien fleet commander, Admiral Vex of the Vorthan Empire, was indeed feeling confident. From his flagship bridge, he watched the blue planet grow larger on his screens. His sensors showed no sign of human military activity in space. No ships rising from the planet's surface. No energy signatures indicating hidden weapons. "Begin the final transmission," Admiral Vex ordered his communications officer. "Tell the humans their time has expired." The message was broadcast to every radio and television station on Earth. Admiral Vex's harsh voice, translated into dozens of human languages, echoed across the planet. "People of Earth, your time is over. Surrender now and you will be treated fairly under galactic law. Resist and you will be destroyed." On Earth's surface, billions of people looked up at the sky, waiting for death or salvation. In his hidden command center, Admiral Taeho received status reports from across the solar system. 12,000 human ships had moved into position during the night, surrounding the alien fleet in a sphere 3 million miles across. Every vessel remained cloaked, invisible to alien sensors. "All ships report ready, Admiral," said Captain Hee-jin from the Soul's Fury, positioned directly above the alien formation. "Weapons charged and locked on target," added Captain Kyung-soo from the Incheon Thunder, hidden behind Jupiter's largest moon. "Fighter squadrons in position," reported Major Yoon-ji from her carrier in the asteroid belt. Admiral Taeho looked at the tactical display one final time. Red dots showed alien positions. Blue dots showed human ships invisible to the enemy but perfectly positioned for maximum effect. It was the largest ambush in the history of warfare. "Open a channel to the alien fleet," he ordered. "Sir?" "Communications." Officer Park looked confused. "Are we going to negotiate?" "No." Admiral Taeho smiled grimly. "We're going to introduce ourselves." The transmission went out on all alien frequencies. On 800 alien ships, communications officers suddenly detected an unknown signal coming from empty space. Admiral Vex frowned as the transmission reached his flagship. "Where is this signal coming from?" His sensor officer checked his instruments twice before answering. "Sir, I'm detecting nothing. Empty space in all directions." Then Admiral Tejo's voice filled the alien bridge, speaking in perfect Vorthon. Admiral Vex of the Vorthon Empire, I am Admiral Tejo of the Earth. Defense Force. You have entered our solar system without permission and threatened our world with conquest. This is our response. Admiral Vex's 6 eyes went wide. Impossible. Our sensors show no ships. Your sensors are wrong, Admiral Tejo replied calmly. Allow me to correct that error. He gave the order that changed galactic history forever. All ships decloak now. Across 3 million miles of space, 12,000 human ships appeared at the same instant. The cloaking fields that had hidden them for days suddenly shut down, revealing the largest fleet ever assembled. They surrounded the alien formation completely, positioned at every angle, blocking every escape route. On the alien flagship, alarms began screaming. Sensor officers shouted in panic as their screens filled with contact signals. 800 alien ships found themselves facing 12,000 human vessels, appearing from nowhere like ghosts becoming solid. Impossible, Admiral, Vex screamed. Humans don't have space technology. Where did these ships come from? But Admiral Tejo wasn't finished. You have 30 seconds to surrender your fleet and withdraw from our solar system. Refuse and we will show you why Earth has remained silent all these years. The alien admiral's shock quickly turned to rage. You think your primitive weapons can threaten the Galactic Council? Attack. Destroy these upstart humans. The battle began instantly. Alien ships opened fire with energy beams and plasma cannons, targeting the human vessels closest to them. But the humans were ready. Captain Hyejin's Soul's Fury was among the first ships targeted. 3 Vorthon cruisers fired their main guns at her battleship, energy beams that could destroy a city. But the beams struck empty space where the ship had been a microsecond before. Quantum jump completed, reported her navigator, Lieutenant Kim Boram. We're now behind their formation. Fire all weapons, Captain Hyejin ordered. The Soul's Fury unleashed plasma disruptors that tore through Vorthon's shields like paper. The alien energy barriers, designed to stop conventional weapons, couldn't adapt fast enough to the constantly changing plasma frequencies. 3 alien cruisers exploded in seconds, their hulls ripped apart by weapons they had never seen before. Across the battlefield, the pattern repeated thousands of times. Human ships used quantum jumping technology to appear and disappear instantly, striking from impossible angles. Alien weapons fired at targets that vanished before the beams could reach them. Lieutenant Jae-sung led his fighter squadron against a formation of Nexari fast attack ships. The aliens were famous for their speed, but speed meant nothing when the enemy could predict your movements. Gold Squadron, execute pattern Delta, he commanded. His fighters split into 3 groups, approaching the Nexari ships from different angles. The alien pilots tried to use their superior speed to escape, but human artificial intelligence had calculated every possible course correction. No matter which way the aliens turned, human fighters were waiting for them. Target locked, reported Pilot Minho. These new plasma cannons cut right through their hull plating. The Nexari ships fell one by one, their speed useless against weapons that could track and target faster than biological reflexes could react. Captain Kyung-soo faced a different challenge aboard the Incheon Thunder. 3 massive Thyman dreadnoughts, each one built like a flying mountain, concentrated their fire on his battleship. Their weapons could crack planets, but the Thymans had never faced penetrator missiles before. Fire full spread, Captain Kyung-soo ordered. Dozens of missiles launched from his ship, but these weren't ordinary projectiles. Using technology based on quantum phase manipulation, the missiles passed through the Thyman's thick rock armor as if it didn't exist. Only when they reached the ship's interior did they become solid again, exploding inside the alien vessels. The 3 dreadnoughts, pride of the Thyman fleet, cracked apart from within. Their mountain-thick armor was useless against weapons that attacked from inside. The battle that the aliens expected to last days was over in 30 minutes. Human tactics, human technology, and human surprise had turned 800 conquering ships into floating debris. Some alien vessels tried to escape, but quantum jumping technology allowed human ships to appear anywhere instantly. Admiral Vex, came Admiral Tejo's voice over the communication channel. Do you wish to surrender the remainder of your fleet? From his damaged flagship surrounded by human battleships, Admiral Vex stared in shock at his tactical displays. Of his 800 ships, fewer than 50 remained intact. The rest were destroyed or disabled, drifting helplessly through space. "How?" he whispered. "How did you build such a fleet without us knowing?" "You were watching," Admiral Tejo replied. "But you weren't listening. Earth has been preparing for this day since the first time we detected your ships. Every piece of your technology that you left behind we studied and improved. Every weakness we observed in your previous conquests, we turned into our strength." "Major," Unji's voice cut into the channel from her fighter carrier. "Admiral, we have 3 Vorthon ships attempting to flee toward the outer system." "Intercept them," Admiral Tejo ordered. "No one leaves this system without our permission." The fleeing ships were caught within minutes, surrounded by human vessels that had appeared from nowhere. The Galactic Council's most powerful fleet had been crushed by the species they considered primitive and weak. "This is impossible," Admiral Vex said again, but his voice now carried defeat instead of anger. "No," Admiral Tejo replied. "This is what happens when you underestimate humans. We don't just fight to win, we fight to make sure you never threaten our world again." The thunder had spoken, and the galaxy had heard. 3 months after the battle, Captain Haye Jin stood on the observation deck of the Soul's Fury as it approached the massive Galactic Council station. The ancient structure, built by a dozen different species over centuries, stretched across 50 miles of space. Its crystal towers and metal rings reflected starlight like a jeweled crown. But today everything was different. Instead of arriving as prisoners or petitioners, the humans came as equals. The 12 ships in Captain Haye Jin's escort formation moved with the confidence of victors, their weapons powered down but ready. "Still hard to believe we're really here," said Commander Lee Sang-ho, her second in command. He was a young officer who had fought in the Great Battle, piloting fighters against Nixari fast attack ships. "Believe it," Captain Haye Jin replied. "After what happened in our solar system, every species in the galaxy wants to talk to us." The news of humanity's victory had spread across the stars faster than light itself. 800 ships of the Yaoi Galactic Council, destroyed by a species that was supposed to be primitive and helpless. The shockwaves were still rippling through alien governments. Ambassador Inho waited in the ship's conference room, reviewing his notes one final time. He had been a diplomat for 20 years, but never in circumstances like these. Usually, first contact meant begging for trade agreements or trying to avoid being conquered. Today, he would be negotiating from a position of strength. "Admiral Tejo sends his regards," Fleet Admiral Na Young said as she entered the room. She now commanded all human space forces, overseeing not just the 12,000 ships that had fought in the battle, but thousands more that were being built in expanded shipyards around Earth. "How are the other species reacting to our arrival?" Ambassador Inho asked. "Mixed responses," Admiral Na Young replied. "The Vorthons are terrified. Half their fleet was destroyed in the battle and their military reputation is in ruins. The Nixari are curious about our technology. The Thymons respect strength, so they're treating us as equals now." Dr. So Young looked up from her translation computer. After decades of studying alien languages in secret, she was now Earth's official xenolinguist and cultural advisor. "The smaller species are the most interesting," she observed. "Many of them were conquered by the same coalition that tried to invade us. They see our victory as their liberation." As the human ships docked with the council station, thousands of alien beings watched through viewing ports and camera feeds. Some stared in wonder at the sleek human vessels. Others whispered nervously about the species that had appeared from nowhere to shatter the old galactic order. The council chamber had been hastily rearranged to accommodate Earth's delegation. For the first time in galactic history, a new species was being invited to join as a full member rather than a subject state. The 12 seats around the great table would become 13. Ambassador Inho entered the chamber flanked by Admiral Na Young and Dr. So Young. The alien delegates watched them with mixtures of curiosity, fear, and respect. The Vorthon representative, now a much humbler figure than Admiral Vex had been, avoided making eye contact. Council Speaker Thyman Rex, an ancient being whose rocky body had witnessed centuries of galactic politics, called the session to order. We gather today to welcome Earth and humanity to the Galactic Council. This is an unusual situation. Unusual because we weren't conquered first? Ambassador Inho asked calmly. Nervous sounds rippled through the chamber. No one had ever spoken so directly to the Council before. Your species has demonstrated capabilities that we underestimated, admitted the Nixari delegate, her light form flickering with what humans had learned was embarrassment. Your technology surpasses our understanding. Dr. So Young leaned forward. We learned from you. Every ship you lost in past battles, every piece of technology you left behind, every tactical mistake you made, we studied it all. While you thought we were primitive, we were becoming stronger than any of you imagined. Admiral Na Young activated a holographic display that showed the current military balance in the galaxy. The chart made every alien delegate shift uncomfortably. Earth now possesses the largest fleet in known space, 15,000 ships and growing, with technology none of you can match. Are you threatening us? Asked the Kalani representative, a tall being covered in silver scales. No, Ambassador Inho replied. We're offering partnership. Earth doesn't want to conquer the galaxy. We want to join it, as equals. The negotiations continued for hours. Trade agreements were discussed, with Earth offering to share some of its less sensitive technologies in exchange for access to galactic markets. Defense pacts were proposed, with humanity offering protection to smaller species who had previously lived in fear of the major powers. But the most important discussion was about the new balance of power itself. For 3,000 years, the Vorthan Empire has dominated this council, observed Council Speaker Thyman Rex. That age has ended. The question now is what comes next. Ambassador Inho stood and addressed the chamber. Humanity proposes a new system. Instead of strong species dominating weak ones, we suggest cooperation between equals. Instead of conquest and subjugation, we offer mutual defense and shared prosperity. The Zephyrian delegate, her butterfly-like form shimmering with interest, spoke up. And if species refuse to cooperate? If they continue the old ways of aggression and conquest? Admiral Na Young's smile was cold as winter. Then they'll discover what happens when they threaten species under Earth's protection. During a break in the formal sessions, Captain Hyjin met privately with several alien commanders who had survived the battle. They wanted to understand how humanity had achieved such a complete victory. Your ships appeared from nowhere, said Commander Zelt, a Vorthon officer whose cruiser had been among the few to escape destruction. Our sensors detected nothing until you decloaked. Stealth technology based on quantum field manipulation, Captain Hyjin explained. We developed it specifically to counter your detection systems. And your weapons passed through our shields like they weren't there. Frequency-shifting plasma that adapts faster than your defensive systems can compensate, again, designed specifically for your technology. Commander Zelt's 6 eyes showed a mixture of admiration and fear. You didn't just build a fleet. You built a fleet specifically to destroy us. We built a fleet to defend Earth, Captain Hyjin corrected. The fact that it could destroy yours was simply good planning. Back in the council chamber, the formal agreements were taking shape. Earth would receive full membership in the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entailed. Human ships would patrol space lanes previously controlled by Vorthon forces. Human technology would be shared selectively, ensuring that Earth maintained its military advantage while helping other species defend themselves. But perhaps most importantly, the principle of conquest by force was officially abandoned. The old system, where strong species could simply invade and enslave weak ones, was replaced by treaties of mutual protection and cooperation. This changes everything, Dr. So Young observed privately to Ambassador Inho. For the first time, in galactic history, small species don't have to fear being conquered by large ones, because if someone tries it, they'll have to deal with us, Admiral Na Young added. The final ceremony was broadcast across the galaxy. Hundreds of species watched as Ambassador Inho signed the documents that made Earth the 13th member of the Galactic Council. For many smaller civilizations, it was a moment of hope. The age of fear was ending. Admiral Tejo watched the ceremony from his command center on Earth. Around him, displays showed human ships taking up patrol positions throughout galactic space. The fleet that had been built in secret was now the galaxy's primary peacekeeping force. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Park Dalho, "we're receiving messages from 47 different species requesting defense agreements with Earth." "And from the Vorthan High Command?" Admiral Tejo asked. "Formal surrender of all territorial claims beyond their home system. They're asking for a non-aggression pact." Admiral Tejo nodded with satisfaction. The species that had planned to enslave humanity was now begging for peace treaties. Fleet Admiral Na Young's voice came through the quantum communicator. "Admiral, the Council has officially voted. Earth is now responsible for maintaining peace in 7 star systems previously under Vorthan control. Any problems with the transition?" "None, sir. Amazing how cooperative everyone becomes when they know we have 15,000 ships backing up our diplomatic efforts." As the human delegation prepared to return to Earth, Ambassador Inho reflected on how much had changed. 3 months ago, humanity had faced extinction or slavery. Today, they were the galaxy's newest superpower, protectors of dozens of smaller species, and architects of a new age of interstellar cooperation. The journey home took 2 weeks through quantum space lanes. As Earth grew larger on the screens of the Soul's Fury, Captain Hyejin felt a deep satisfaction. The blue planet that had seemed so vulnerable was now the center of galactic power, protected by the largest fleet in known space. "Think they'll test us again?" asked Commander Lee Sang-ho. Captain Hyejin smiled as she watched Earth's orbital shipyards where new vessels were being built every day. Captain Han Wu stared at the screen in his command center. The numbers made no sense. His radar officer had checked the readings 3 times already. Still, the same impossible result appeared on every monitor. "Sir, we have confirmed the count," said Lieutenant Kim Nari from her station. 10,000 ships, maybe more. They are sitting at the edge of our solar system." Han Wu rubbed his tired eyes. He had been awake for 18 hours straight, ever since the first detection signals came in. The ships had appeared from nowhere, like ghosts materializing from empty space. One moment there was nothing. The next moment, the largest fleet in human history was watching them from the darkness. "How big are these ships?" Han Wu asked. "The smallest ones are twice the size of our biggest battleships," Kim Nari replied. "The largest ones are—" She paused, checking her readings again. "Sir, some of them are the size of small cities." Han Wu felt a cold feeling in his stomach. Humanity had spread to Mars and Europa in the past 50 years. They had built good ships and strong weapons, but nothing like this. Nothing even close to this. "Any word from Earth Command?" he asked. "Admiral Park Tae is calling an emergency meeting. All fleet commanders are to report immediately." Han Wu nodded. He looked around his bridge one more time. The crew was scared. He could see it in their faces, but they were still doing their jobs. That was good. They would need every bit of courage they could find. 2 hours later, Han Wu sat in a room with 40 other ship captains. The meeting was held on the command station orbiting Earth. Through the big windows he could see the blue planet below. It looked peaceful, beautiful. Hard to believe that death was waiting just beyond the outer planets. Admiral Park Tae entered the room. He was an old man with gray hair and sharp eyes. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. He knew about war, but Han Wu could see worry on his face too. "The situation is clear," Admiral Park Tae began. "We are facing the largest alien force ever seen. They have made no contact yet. We do not know what they want." "Have we tried talking to them?" asked Captain Lee Day from the Weapons Division. "Dr. Kim Nari is preparing a first contact message now," the Admiral replied. "But we must prepare for the worst case." Han Wu listened as the Admiral explained their defense plans. It was not good news. Earth had maybe 300 combat ships. The colonies had another 100 between them. Even if they used every mining ship and transport vessel, they could not match the alien numbers. "Sir," said Han Wu, "do we know anything about their technology?" Admiral Park Tae looked grim. "Our long-range scans show energy signatures we have never seen before. Their ships use power sources that are far beyond our current science." The room fell silent. Everyone understood what this meant. They were outgunned, outnumbered, and out of time. "However," the Admiral continued, "we are not helpless. For the past 30 years, Earth has been preparing for this day." Han Wu looked up in surprise. "Preparing, sir? In 2127, we found ruins on Europa, ancient alien structures buried under the ice. The scientists who studied them learned something important. We are not alone in the galaxy, and we are not the first world to be visited by hostile aliens." Admiral Park Tae activated a hologram in the center of the room. It showed images of strange buildings and symbols carved into metal walls. The ruins told us a story of other worlds that faced alien invasions. Most of them fell, but a few fought back. We learned from their mistakes. "What kind of preparations?" asked Captain Lee Day. "That information is classified above your current level, but know this, we have not been idle. The colonies on Mars and Europa are more than just mining operations. The asteroid belt contains more than just rocks, and Earth itself has surprises that our enemies will not expect." Before anyone could ask more questions, an alarm began to sound. A communications officer ran into the room. "Admiral, we are receiving a transmission from the alien fleet." "Put it on the main screen," ordered Admiral Park Tae. The hologram changed. Now it showed a creature that made Han Wu's skin crawl. It had 4 arms and skin like old leather. Its eyes were black and cold. When it spoke, its voice was translated by the ship's computer. "Attention, primitive species of the 3rd planet. I am Commander Kelmore of the Vorthak Empire. Your world has been selected for integration into our domain." The alien paused, as if waiting for a response. Then it continued. "You have 72 of your time units to surrender. Open your communication channels and prepare for our arrival. Resistance will result in the destruction of your population centers." The alien's image flickered, then continued with what sounded like a prepared speech. "Do not attempt to flee. Do not attempt to fight. Your technology is primitive compared to ours. Your weapons cannot harm our ships. Surrender now, and 40% of your population will be allowed to live as workers in our empire." The transmission ended. The room was quiet for a long moment. Dr. Kim Nari, who had been watching from her science station, spoke first. 40% survival rate. They are not here to make friends. Can we negotiate?" asked Captain Lee Day. "I doubt it," said Admiral Park Tae, "but we will try." Dr. Kim Nari, prepare a response. Tell them we need time to consider their offer. Ask for more details about their terms. "Yes, sir," Kim Nari replied. "But Admiral, what if they refuse to wait?" Admiral Park Tae looked around the room at all the ship captains. His expression was hard as stone. "Then we fight, and we show them that humans do not go quietly into the darkness." Han Wu felt something stir in his chest. Fear was still there, but now there was something else. Anger. These aliens thought humans were just another weak species to be conquered. They offered slavery with a smile and called it mercy. "Admiral," Han Wu said, "what are our real chances?" Park Tae was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled. It was not a happy smile. It was the smile of a predator showing its teeth. "Captain Han Wu, these aliens have conquered 847 worlds. They have never failed. They have never even been seriously challenged." He paused. "They have never fought humans before." "What does that mean, sir?" "It means they are about to learn something new, something that will surprise them very much." Admiral Park Tae stood up. "All captains, return to your ships. Prepare for combat operations. We have 72 hours to get ready." As the meeting broke up, Han Wu walked to the window and looked out at Earth. The planet seemed so small and fragile, but he thought about the ruins on Europa, about the other worlds that had fought and lost, About the 30 years of secret preparations. Maybe the aliens were right. Maybe human technology was primitive. Maybe their weapons were stronger. But the aliens had made one big mistake. They thought this would be easy. They thought humans would surrender without a real fight. Hanwoo smiled. It was the same predator smile he had seen on Admiral Park Tae's face. The aliens were about to learn that humans were different. They were about to learn what happened when you threatened everything that mattered to a species that had never learned how to quit. The 72-hour countdown had begun, and Hanwoo could hardly wait to see what happened next.